Hi there, I'm Gilza Fort-Martinez.
And I am Maria Alfonso.
And together we are Letters to My Therapist. In our first episode, we are going to talk about disconnection and trust issues in a long-term marriage. Hi, Mari.
Hi, Gilza.
I'm so glad that we're here today again to share another letter with you. So let me just jump right in. This is a long one. So a friend once said, marriage is a journey of saying I do every day. And that couldn't be more true. I can almost put my finger as to when things started to unravel. And we stopped saying I do in our now 40 years of marriage. 10 years ago, the summer of 2013, my father passed away. Our son went away to college, and my husband took a job with his current employer making the big bucks. Slowly, the scab formed. She has very interesting, creative writing. So slowly the scab formed, and we each started carving separate lives, him at work, and I became a screener for the Miami Film Society and joined a marathon training group.
Okay. She was busy.
She was busy. So thoughts up to now?
Well, it's a long-term relationship, definitely. And a lot of life events happen at some point. And that is very common that when life event happens, like sometimes relationship is not a big priority for people. And sometimes jobs take a lot of attention.
Energy.
Yeah. But what I see here is a lot of awareness. Like she seems like she has been spending some time thinking about this because now she said, I almost know when the relationship turned around.
Right. When it changed for her. And it seems, she says, the summer of 2013. So she almost has it pinpointed, right, as to when all of these life events happened and they started to kind of shift in different directions.
Yeah, and that happened, like relationships need nurturing. And we kind of like take things for granted when you have been such a long time.
40 years.
People assume like, okay, you have been here, you're going to be here forever. And we don't realize that we need to do a little bit every day.
Every day.
To keep it.
I think that that's a big piece of what she's saying, right? That they really stopped nurturing the relationship. So she goes on to say that the best way I can sum things up is that after 40 years of marriage, we just stopped paying attention to our marriage and someone else started paying attention to me.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun. Right?
Those are opportunities that really happen when we don't nurture our relationship. Somebody else could do it.
Right.
And then seems like this is what happened here.
So here we're talking about there was some betrayal here, some layer of betrayal, some attention, like you said, that gets diverted. And as we've talked about before, right, the violation of trust that goes into a betrayal has layers to it, right? We don't know to what extent this relationship went or this paying attention to her went, but at the very least, it diverted her attention from her partner in her marriage.
And the energy, because that's
the energy.
That's one thing that I talk about, you know, with the couples is like when your energy is somewhere else, you don't have enough to put it in your own relationship. That's a risk.
That is a risk. That is a risk. So she says the stuff hit the fan. Can't quite tell you exactly how she wrote that, but the stuff hit the fan a little over a year ago. And we've been separated now since March of last year. We each started seeing a therapist and now see mine as a couple. And the journey has been a hard one, but a much needed one. What are you hearing there, Mari?
Well, I'm hearing that there are two people that are doing the work, that they had that incident. That
something happened. Something happened that blew up.
Definitely, they made the decision to separate, but I see they both are doing individual therapy, and now they're doing couple therapy, and she's acknowledging that the work is hard. we always tell people it's going to get worse before it gets better.
It's better.
But we really need to go through that phase.
Yeah.
If we really want the relationships to have some level of opportunity, and even for us, like the personal growth that you need to do, the work that you need to do after a breakup or after a big incident in relationships is intense, but it paid off when you do it.
You know, that's an important point, right? Because so many times people will come in to talk with us, right, as a couple. And they will say to us, well, you know, therapy only made things worse. I don't think therapy works, okay? And yet, you're right. There has to be some pain in the growth. And the pain is really about, like, clearing the air, right? Let's take a look at everything that happened. Let's take a look at all the highs and lows, all the places where we turned away from each other, right? Instead of turning towards each other. And that's really painful.
Yeah,
and that's really painful.
But if you stay in the process, then you start seeing the improvement. It's the same thing when people have like a physical lesion that if you really want that to heal properly, sometimes you have to put your finger there and you have to put the medicine there, and touching that is going to hurt.
It's going to hurt.
But then it's going to heal.
You at least have the possibility, right? Just not doing anything, as she's saying here, not doing anything created the distance, created the, you know what, let's go and do our own thing. Now, we always talk about how a couple needs to be a me and a me, and then be a we, right? So it's not a horrible thing, right, that she had her interest and he was doing his interests, right? What do you think about that? Is it contradictory?
Yeah, well, that's the situation. Like, what is the limit? Because too much of one thing is not necessarily the best.
Right.
You really need independency. You need interdependency. You need to be able to develop interest. But if you want the relationship to continue growing, you need to spend some time together. Like we always ask, you know, this question that we all ask the couples, like, when was the last time that you went on a date? And sometimes people that have been married for a long time look at you like, date? No. We are married. Like, yeah, I'm talking with you. You are married, but you need to go on date.
When was the last time you played? When was the last time there was some fun, right? Because those are really the ways to come back together. You can do the me and the me, but how do we turn back and create the we is having some of these activities and things, experiences together, creating them, right? So we know that she gets help. We know that she acknowledges, or they maybe are in the process of acknowledging. So she ends her letter by saying 40 years of marriage is a long time. And we both didn't want to throw in the towel that quickly. And we decided to give us a second chance. Trust is the big white elephant in the room that only time will heal and to overcome. But I feel confident that our individual and couples therapy is going to give us the right tools we need to continue to navigate this arduous but constantly worthwhile journey. So she's talking what we're talking about, right? That you made this investment 40 years. This has been really hard. It sounds like there's been a lot of separation. Usually implies a lot of pain, a lot of sadness, a lot of anger, a lot of disappointment, and yet she's talking about the investment has been worth it for them.
Yeah, they are trying to recover the relationship, but here's not every relationship when there is a betrayal really is worth to save.
Yes.
Can we tell people a little bit more about when it's worth to do this work?
I think that's an important point, because they decided that they were going to rebuild the trust. And you're right. There are some relationships that either are not repairable or should not be repairable.
Yeah. So then when the infidelity is something that is constant, that is repetitive, that is no commitment, that there is no acknowledgement that really you could have affected the relationship, that you could have created some damage, and this is something that continue happening and happening, definitely there is not so much room for a saving.
Right, for building. Right.
But in this case, seems like we're talking about somebody that took ownership, responsibility. They are doing the work. They are trying. So I would say this is one of those cases where they can at least try. Now, trust, we don't know what is going to happen there.
Right. Right. She says it's the big white elephant in the room. It's the big thing that continues to be spoken about or maybe not spoken about. We're really not sure, right? The big white elephant usually, right, means, but the trust is the foundation. Is there a willingness to rebuild that?
Yeah.
How would you rebuild some of that? Any pointers?
Well, so we have to first acknowledge that the other partner, the other person has all the right to really feel doubt and really she needs to give a space for this person to really go little steps, and also she has to commit to regain that trust.
Right, to do that work, because that will take some effort here, as she's saying.
Definitely. And you have to also go with the mind open that may happen, that may not happen, because we see sometimes in couples that the person that is usually the person that committed the infidelity kind of like dismiss that and tell the person, oh, this is already the past. Don't think about it. Don't talk about it.
Let's just move on.
Let's move on.
All right.
And that is not that easy.
Right.
You have to really give a space to people to accommodate themselves with that idea. And sometimes we need to talk and talk. Now, talking doesn't mean giving details about exactly how the infidelity was. We have to, there is the line there that sometimes knowing too much and knowing details, and you can create images in your mind and you cannot delete them later.
So it's a unique process, right? Really trying to figure out how much each person may need and be able to either want or live with. But I do think it's important that there is that transparency, right? That they are willing to do that work of sharing the information that the other partner wants.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And that's why it's important to have some type of assistance, like some type of professional guidance, because the determining, what are the details that are relevant and what are the details that could be a little bit dangerous to create that, phantom in the mind. And that will be definitely important to have somebody else kind of like guiding the process.
So I think that she really has come to a place where she's understanding that she really has to be focused on rebuilding this trust, that a lot of it might lean more on her, certainly at the beginning. And then hopefully, it sounds like he's been open to at least doing that processing and taking, because they've been separated for a year. So it sounds like they've been doing some of this work throughout the year.
Yes, and I'm thinking also like the trust is also on the other way, like because he broke some promises too. It wasn't not with other person, but there is this saying of shifting the interest, kind of like forgetting about the relationship. So I think both of them really have to do work in there.
And that's a great point, because many times, as you said, lots of the betrayals don't happen in a vacuum. A lot of infidelity occurs within relationships that are already having challenges, that are already having distance, turning away from each other. So that would be important for them to really explore all of that and each take their own piece of accountability for where are they at this point, right? I think it's great that she was willing to do it and that he was willing to do it, and that 'cause 40 years is a long time. Yes?
Definitely.
Okay. Well, I think that these are our recommendations for today, and we really want to thank you for joining us, and we'll see you at our next episode. We want to be the light at the end of the tunnel for you.
Write to us at lettucetomytherapist.com and follow us on social media.